Welcome to Medieval Life. On this channel, we recreate the daily life, crafts and traditions of the Middle Ages, toned exactly as they were lived.
At minus 40 degrees, modern technology fails. Plastic cracks, and the human body begins shutting down in minutes. Yet for centuries, medieval people lived, worked, traveled, and fought in temperatures like this, without electricity, without synthetic insulation, without thermal technology. No Gore-Tex, no heated layers, no emergency shelters, just cloth. And somehow, they survived. Meanwhile today, someone wearing a $1,000 winter jacket steps outside, sweats slightly, feels a chill creep in, and suddenly the cold feels unbearable. So here's the uncomfortable question. Why were people from the Middle Ages warmer at minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit than you are right now? The answer has nothing to do with toughness, and everything to do with knowledge we've forgotten. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never trust modern winter clothing the same way again. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths, and 2. The biggest lie about medieval clothing. When we imagine medieval people, we picture misery, thin rags, frozen peasants. People constantly suffering through winter. But that image is wrong, painfully wrong, because medieval people didn't dress for comfort. They dressed for survival. Cold wasn't a seasonal inconvenience. It wasn't something you escaped by going indoors. Cold wasn't executioner. Every winter. It killed the careless, the unprepared, and the ignorant. So medieval clothing wasn't fashion. It wasn't decoration. It was life-preserving equipment, refined over generations through failure, death, and hard experience. And unlike modern clothing, which is designed for short exposure and convenience, medieval clothing was designed for continuous living in extreme cold. The real secret isn't thickness, it's layering. And this is where everything changes. 3. Layering. The system that beat the cold modern winter jackets promised one thing. Put this on, and you're warm. Medieval clothing never worked that way. Instead, it used a multi-layer system, where every layer had a specific job. The first layer was linen, thin, breathable, and surprisingly important. It absorbed sweat and kept moisture away from the skin. Why does that matter? Because moisture is the real enemy of warmth. Once your skin gets damp, heat escapes rapidly, even in expensive jackets. The second layer was wool, sometimes multiple layers. Loose, airy, heavy enough to trap warmth, but breathable enough to let moisture escape. And then came the outer layers: cloaks, mantles, hoods, adjustable shields against wind, snow, and cold air. Here's the key difference. Modern jackets try to do everything at once. Medieval clothing separated each function: moisture control, insulation, wind protection. If one layer failed, the others still worked. Constantly opening layers when active, closing them when still. This wasn't primitive. It was intelligent. And the most powerful element of this system was wool. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths. 4. Wool. The forgotten super material. Wool is not just warm fabric. It is one of the most advanced natural insulation systems on Earth. Unlike synthetic materials, wool continues to insulate even when wet, even when soaked with snow, even when exposed to freezing wind. Why? Because wool fibers trap air inside microscopic curls, creating millions of tiny heat pockets around the body. And wool contains lanolin, a natural oil that repels water, while remaining breatable. Modern synthetic insulation collapses when wet. Gown becomes useless. Moisture stays trapped. Wool expects moisture. Medieval people didn't try to stay perfectly dry. They tried to stay functional. Snow melts. Sweat forms. Clothing gets damp. Their system assumed this and still worked. That's why shepherds, monks, farmers, and travelers relied on wool more than any other material. And that's why modern clothing companies quietly still use it, but rarely explain why it works. But fabric alone wasn't enough. The way medieval clothing fit the body mattered just as much. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths, and 5-fit movement and blood flow. Modern winter clothing hugs the body. Slim cuts, tight sleeves, compressed insulation. It looks efficient, but it creates a deadly problem: restricted blood flow. When blood circulation slows, extremities lose heat fast, hands numb, feet freeze, core temperature drops. Medieval clothing avoided this completely. Garments were loose, flowing, unrestricted. Air could circulate inside layers, warming gradually. Blood moved freely through arms and legs. And most importantly, medieval people kept moving. Asterisk. Their clothing was designed for walking, working, lifting, farming, traveling, not standing still. Modern jackets assume short bursts of exposure, car to building, door to door. Asterisk. Medieval clothing assumed constant activity in cold environments. And that brings us to one of the most misunderstood garments in history: the cloak. Asterisk 6. Cloaks, hoods, and heat zone. The medieval cloak wasn't just clothing. It was climate control. A cloak could be tightened against the wind or loosened to release heat. It could be wrapped, folded, layered, or removed entirely. Unlike modern coats with fixed sleeves, cloaks allowed dynamic heat regulation. And the hood, often attached, protected the most critical heat loss areas: head, neck, shoulders. Modern hats leave gaps. Scarves shift. Cold air sneaks in. Medieval hoods sealed warmth where it mattered most. And because cloaks covered the entire body, they blocked wind without compressing insulation. Wind kills warmth faster than cold itself. Medieval clothing understood this centuries before wind chill formulas existed. If medieval clothing was so effective, why does modern clothing fail us? The answer is uncomfortable. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths. 7. Why modern jackets fail at extreme cold. Modern jackets are designed for marketing, not survival. They promise warmth without effort, warmth without knowledge, warmth without movement. But here's what actually happens. You walk, you sweat, moisture builds inside sealed synthetic layers. Then you stop. That moisture cools, heat escapes, cold sinks in. At extreme temperatures, that cycle becomes dangerous. Medieval clothing avoided this by allowing constant ventilation and adjustment. Modern jackets trap heat until they trap cold. They're perfect for short exposure, terrible for long-term cold survival. And that's why people with modern gear still suffer hypothermia, while medieval travelers crossed frozen landscapes and lived. But there's one final difference, and it's psychological. 8. The mindset that kept them alive. Medieval people respected winter. They feared it and prepared for it. Clothing was maintained, repaired, layered, and planned like armor. Modern people trust technology blindly. We assume warmth is Guaranteed. We underestimate cold. We stop paying attention. And cold punishes. Arrogance. Medieval survival wasn't about bravery. It was about humility, understanding the environment. Working with it, not against it. And that knowledge is fading. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths, and 9 conclusion. So the next time you shiver in a modern jacket, remember this. It's not that medieval people were tougher. It's that they were smarter about cold. They didn't fight winter. They designed around it. And maybe the most dangerous thing about modern life isn't the cold itself, but forgetting how deadly it can be. Because knowledge doesn't freeze. Disappears. Asked if this video changed the way you think about history or made you question modern progress. Subscribe. We uncover forgotten knowledge, hidden truths, and the dark intelligence of the past. Like the video if you want more stories like this. Comment below. Would medieval clothing keep you warmer than your jacket?